Okay, doing another video today. Mentioned this to a couple people on Facebook. I would be doing this book. It is Circle of Fire by Sarita Destas and David Rankin. Um, this is another book I picked up from the library, and I'm gonna start off by saying I would recommend this book, but there would be some conditions on which I would probably make the recommendation. This is a book that basically is on ceremonial magic. And rather than giving you correspondence and different Wicca 101 materials you would probably want or need for writing your own rituals and spells, they just flat out outline them for you. And that's probably one of my problems with this book. First, let me say, in reading this, I get the distinct impression that definitely this is written by two people. The reason I say that is varying depending on the chapters that you're reading. You get a sort of like different like style of writing and a different way of wording things, different type of tone. So, um, that for one can make the book a little bit off-putting. Secondly, in their attempts to like what they call foundations, basically like defining Wicca and whatnot. And here's a perfect example of where this book comes into like I guess contradicting itself. In the beginning here, and you see I made like neat little post-its. They talk about how Wicca can basically be anything. It just depends on who the practitioner is, in their own personal style. They say Wicca can be a monotheist religion, and when I first read that, I was kind of like, bullshit. But the more I thought about it, I sort of realized that is true because, depending on your tradition, your path, you may choose to only work with like one god or goddess. But for me, the real Wicca really is about balance. And I just don't see how you can be balanced if you focus all of your energy on just one particular god. But that's just my personal feeling about that. Now the reason I say this contradicts itself is when you get into the later chapters of the book, they start going over, what you need to know for your ritual and ceremonial practices, and they talk about the old ones, and according to them, the old ones are a collective group of elemental beings and spirits, and it's a term that can be used to cover a wide range. But, they say to really appreciate the old ones, you need to study them. And they say all Wiccans should study the old ones. Well, you can't be a monotheist and say you only worship one god, then turn around and say, but I also worship da 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 da. I also work with da 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 da. It kind of, it gets a little hypocritical for me. I'm sure people out there disagree, and there's a lot of like Christo-Wiccans too, like who worship, they add Christianity aspects of it to their worship and path, and that's fine. I mean, everybody's going to feel differently. That's just my personal feeling. You do get some correspondence, but not a lot. And for some of these, I'm not sure where, they're drawing the information they're giving, because the bibliography isn't really comprehensive, and in fact, there is no bibliography, so I don't know where they research this information. But like as an example, when they give the correspondence for air, it's pretty standard. The colors, white, yellow, timing, dawn, springtime, direction east, but then they go into like positive qualities and negative qualities, and that to me is like another thing I sort of have a problem with, because I don't look at things necessarily as always being positive or negative. Like, we need all different types of energies and qualities to balance ourselves out. And if you're only trying to focus on one side, you kind of throw yourself out of balance and out of alignment. So, personal preference again, but that was another thing I didn't like. Last thing I will mention, because they give a lot of like stuff about the rituals, and like I said, they don't, for some of these like invocations, they don't just give you ideas. They give you like a full out, this is how you invoke the god and goddess. Guardians of the Watchtowers, they talk about that, and basically like, this is how you invoke them, this is how they are. There's just like, it's very insistent upon like, this is the view. But the other thing I wanted to mention, I kind of scratched my head over, ritual content. They give you ideas for stuff you may want to do in accordance with the Sabbats, but they omit Symbolic and Ostera, and I'm not sure why. The authors of this book have their own tradition. It's called the Western Historic Tradition, so perhaps that they just don't celebrate it in that particular tradition. But in that case, that sort of just makes this a book about the Western historic tradition and not Wicca in general. But it's not like it would have been hard like Symbolic. I think everybody knows that's connected to the goddess Bridget. So for that holiday, it's a fire festival. It's about new beginnings, the first stirrings of spring. You can make a Bridget bed, or it's also called a breed bed. You can make a breed doll. You can also make Bridget's cross. There's like a couple other things you do. God's Eye is another project idea I've seen for that particular Sabbath. So it's not like there's not anything you can do. You can do a lot of stuff. Ostera, obviously egg painting is one that a lot of pagans and Wiccans know and do. That one's obvious. In addition, planting seeds, which I did this past Ostera, so don't know why that was omitted. Stuff I do like in this book, a lot of it comes later, and this is really where you'll see how the book takes on a different tone. They talk a lot about using your voice, how your voice has power, and that is very true. Magical names are another thing. And then they also talk about, if I can find it here, elemental gestures or hand gestures. Now those would be like, okay, like, I'm trying to do this here. Like this would be for air, is how they demonstrate it. This would be for water. If you move it lower and then turn upside down, that's earth, and so on and so forth. And then they also give you some other ones. This is another one for air. This is fire. This is water. And then earth is this. Personally, myself, I don't use hand gestures in that way, but I do use certain ones from my yoga practice, especially when raising energy. One of my favorites is like the third eye opening, which you cover your hands with your heart like this. You move up to your forehead, and then you sweep around, bringing the energy back, and it's like a continuing cycle. But it's an interesting introduction to using hand gestures in your ritual practice, so I like that. They also give a preface here for if you are under 18, which that tends to come up a lot because a lot of covens will not allow members under 18. And even as solitaries, we're always careful with the information and advice we give to those under 18. Would recommend this book, but know what you're getting yourself into. This is not a book for like a kitchen witch unless they're looking to add like ceremonial magic. And you know, a lot of people probably won't like this book, but it's a good book and worth having. So I'm going to cut the video now. I was going to do a second book. I'm nearing the time YouTube likes to cut me off. So thank you for watching. Have a great day, guys.